I met a gypsy.
I want to bookend the 96 before we go on, because I wanted to know, did you ride it first and then ride it as it was finished? And like how much better was it?
You wouldn't have wanted to ride it at first. Fuck, if you've seen the video, it's tragic. Like it's I don't know where Wob found this thing, but it was yeah, you wouldn't even want to ride it up and down a field.
Really?
Someone had it like the I think it come from Portugal actually, but just not like a motocross rider. Someone's just bought this bike and just towing it up and down roads and stuff. Like the tyre was bald on the back. Yeah. So, but you wouldn't have wanted to ride that. But when I got it back, it was a dream to ride that bike. Like some people say, yeah, they don't enjoy riding a two-stroke, but with that one, it was so nice to ride. It turned so well. Like the balance of the bike was so different, but the way it turned, and I think with how Wob built the bike, that it made that difference, because it wasn't an old bike. It was like literally showroom. Everything was tight. Everything was greased. It was literally like, well, better than out of showroom. It was literally unreal to ride. Like it didn't vibrate. You know, sometimes people rev their bike and you just see the old clutch like, blah, blah, blah. It was just none of that. It was just perfect. Didn't vibrate. Even now, it's still nice to ride. It's just getting the jet in and that right. Like, and sometimes where it's not like as fast as the 450, you're on the throttle so much. So then I worry like, fuck, I'm revving this thing so much. Like, am I going to blow it up? So then you're like shutting off out the blue and back on it. Whereas a 450, you're just like, what? And then you're like, well, I'm in the corner already, slow down. Where that, you seem to be revving for like 5 seconds up a straight. Where a 450, you're like, bop, on the brakes again. Yeah,
I've got to ride mine. I got pretty lucky. Mine was in fairly good condition, but like the brakes don't work for shit. Like it's an old piece of shit, but it actually was rideable. But I couldn't believe, one, how good it turns, and two, how fast that motor is. Like we got my favorite kind of just local track where you just pay and ride. There's like kind of like there's just this natural terrain sort of thing. And a friend of mine, Mal, he's got he sold it now, but he's got a KTM 250, a modern one. And my thing would pull from his modern KTM. He's a bigger dude than me, granted. But yeah, there's been times where we're going kind of up this uphill. He's like, fuck, that thing is just legitimately fast. And it's a really good two-stroke motor. It actually has like a good transition off the bottom. Like it feels way more rideable than some of the newer ones, I reckon. It's got like a old school kind of characteristic to that motor, but it sort of still holds up.
Yeah, no, it's good. I've done a day at this guy Martin, a guy who does road racing here that's quite popular. He's bought a track in England, and we went up there the other week with Billy, or it was a couple of months ago now, but I was riding the 252 stroke, and then I was pulling on his, I can't remember what bike he was on because he rides so many different bikes, but I think it was a 350, and my two-stroke was pulling away up the hills. He's like, I can't get near you up the hills. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, the two-stroke was pulling away, but it doesn't feel fast. It just feels like just a real long power, but yeah, I was pulling away up the hills.
It feels like fat, the power. It just feels like meaty and fat, and you've just got it. And yeah, I want to do, the build that I want to do on that bike is everyone kind of does the full restos on them, which is cool.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel like, because it'll be content that we'll do as well, I kind of want to just go as ham as possible and make like, in the car world where they do resto mods. So they take like the old chassis, but then they put new suspension, new brakes, aircon, Bluetooth speaker. Like they just make it like a new car, but they keep the old chassis. So I pretty much want to do that, I reckon. Just do like brand new suspension, brand new triple clamps, like rubber mount, like X-Trig style ones. I'm going to put like the MX Tech shock in it, just full like Brembo brakes. Like just what are we going to do to just make this thing as modern as you could possibly make it, but keep the stock engine and all the stock chassis, and just like go absolutely ham on everything else.
Yeah, it's just trying to get them to fit, I think. That's what Wob was doing before. He tries to make everything so that you can fit that new stuff on, because you need new brakes, because even the brakes he's done on mine, one time you use it, the next time, fuck you, it just don't work.
Yeah.
I said to him, what's going on here? Like, I come down the hill at that track I was just talking about, and then I just went to use the rear brake, and And he's like, oh, it's just one of those things, kid. They just don't work all the time on that bike. I was like, fucking hell. I was like, there was a lake at the bottom. Luckily, the front brake worked where I would have been straight in there. Like, if someone doesn't know really, like, not a good level on a bike, if the rear went, they would have just been in this lake. And he's like, yeah, that's just how it works. I'm like, fucking hell, we'll try and fix that for me.
Yeah, let's just not run that program. We're going a bit too fast here, Doc.
Yeah, no, he was, but he put new seals or something. I can't remember what he said. It's like we put a new seal kit in, so it shouldn't happen no more.
Mate, I did this 2-stroke race. We sponsored like the 2-stroke class at this event that we do every year. It's at the sickest track in Australia, I reckon. Well, one of them. It's like a really good sandy, low, like thick red sort of sand, and I just didn't have any other bike to race. I was planning on having another 2-stroke, didn't happen, so I had to ride that 96. And like my mate was there, Franco, and he's like, "Do you want to do anything to this thing?" And I was like, "Oh fuck, I honestly don't care." And then he's like, "Let's at least put some brake fluid in it because these brakes don't work." And then we did the brake fluid, we pulled it out, and it looked like pan ham soup. And I was just like, "Mate, this thing is fucked."
Yeah, I wouldn't have wanted to race that.
Nah, and then my seat...
I'd have passed on the race.
My seat ended up coming off, and that bike, like, you're pretty much gripping with the seat because there's just no... like, the chassis stops, like, halfway down your shins almost.
Yeah, it's completely different. The position you're in on the bike, that's why I was so surprised how it turned, because your position... like, on a 450, you're so on top of the bike, where on that bike, you're, like, in it. Like,
yeah.
The seat, it sits way further back, but that's what surprised me so much with how it turned, because you're in such a different style, and if you were sat like that on a 450, you wouldn't be able to turn the bike at all. So it's strange how good it was considering where you're sat on a bike.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.